Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Select Board meeting. If you could, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome, and thank everyone for taking time to come down and see us. I know there's issues that people are interested in, but first we'll go around and introduce those of us in the front. Over here is our town administrator, Rebecca Oldham.
Becky Boucher, Select Board Member.
Jason Nave, Select Board Member.
Kathy Castronellis, Select Board Member.
Ed Watson, Board of Selectmen.
And we have one absent tonight. Mark Parento couldn't be here. So, on our agenda every time, we always start with, just a second, I'll get it open.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
Yes, I will, thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for let me know when you cannot hear, and I will speak it up more. So, the meeting's been called to order. The next agenda item on every agenda is the public comment item, and I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people, I believe, who are interested in speaking regarding a proposal for Garrison Street. I remind you that we allow about 3 minutes on a public comment. 3 minutes is a lot more than you think, believe it or not. Try, if you're making a comment, to say something that perhaps, or concern or question. Questions are fine as well as concerns that hasn't been raised. We do not allow naming people individually or casting aspersions on a board or committee or anything like that. This is an open forum to hear from the residents about an issue that concerns them, okay? And we like to have this public comment. We want to hear from everybody. I did want to just ask our town administrator to just give you a two-minute update on the process that's happened so far, because it's kind of new to some of us on the board as well, this application happening so quickly before we even knew about it. So if you could please explain how this works. We'll just wait 2 minutes and then we'll start the public comment.
So I just wanted to provide an update to let us all know exactly where we are in the process. There is currently no application before the town right now. The application that you've received a copy of is a project eligibility letter that goes to the subsidizing agency with the state, and the state would be the one that would give us feedback as to whether or not this particular application has been filed. So what you see before you are all conceptual plans, and again, there's nothing right now currently before the town. Nothing before the Zoning Board of Appeals, no comprehensive permit or anything of the like has been filed with the town. This is a project eligibility letter that you've seen that has been filed with the state subsidizing agency, and in this particular case, it's the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
Right. And in addition, what Rebecca was kind enough to explain to me is that any person who's trying to build a project in town meets with a technical committee in the town to find out what they would need to do. And that's just part of the process. So when you see that there has been a meeting, that kind of meeting happens for anybody who wants to try and build something in town, because they're told where and what, the rules are and what the process would be for them. Okay, and that's all that's been done. So I have a list. I don't know if there's an order that you wanted me to follow on it. The first person on my list here is Joe Ravita. Hi, Joe. So what I would ask, if you wouldn't mind, I know it's kind of come to the podium, use the microphone because that records it. Please state your name and your street address, and then your concerns or questions.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Joe Ravita. I'm at 24 Francis Avenue. I have moved here about 5 years ago from something that was a little bit more congested and definitely a lot more traffic, a lot more noise. The reason why we came here was to escape all that. Something like this project, our concerns are for the neighborhood peace, traffic, resources that our rates going up. We do have finite amounts of electricity, water, those things. And we're also worried about property values. How does that affect us? We don't know. Those are questions that we have and some of the concerns we have. The noise, not only for the construction of the project itself, but also as the project is completed, how does that affect the normally quiet, rural kind of neighborhood that we wanted to live in? You know, those are our main concerns, and that's what I wanted to state tonight.
Thank you. And I should add that when we do public comment, the board is not allowed to engage. We just listen to your comment and questions. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Next, I have Jane Brown. Fight your way forward.
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jane Brown. I'm a abutter to the property. I live at 40 Garrison Street, so I live right next to the field. So looking at the proposed plans, my house will be looking at the back of a building and a parking lot. Lucky me. So what I noticed on the Nichols website, the Nichols Village website, it states, initially, the senior living community was slated to be built on the land of Nichols' home on Garrison Street. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to public speaking. Since this location was a densely developed residential area and too small to meet the requirements of the Art Senior Living community, another location was sought. Hence, the over 90 acres of woodlands and fields where the Nichols Village community now rests. So my question is, what has changed? So, and hasn't the Nichols Village Trust fulfilled the legacy of the trust? I mean, they have the Nichols Village, hasn't that fulfilled the trust? So why is Garrison Street now okay for 90 units of housing? First of all, after reading the letter from Bethany Communities to the state requesting Chapter 40B project eligibility, I found some misleading information. It states in the letter that Bethany team will continue to meet and inform abutters. Being a abutter living right next to field, I've never been informed. Nothing. So that's totally false. So the project eligibility letter for the Garrison Village project was well on its way for approval from the state. 36 Garrison Street was never posted on the planning board agenda prior to the application being sent. When was this discussed? No abutters have been informed of this project by Bethany Communities or from Groveland officials. This project does not belong on Garrison Street. Garrison Street is a residential zone with single-family homes. Garrison Street is a winding, dark, country road with partial sidewalks. It is going to present safety hazards with increased traffic volume. The proposed Garrison Village is going to completely ruin our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods. If approved, the value of our homes is going to decrease immensely. My neighbors who I've spoken to, we all want to move if it's finalized. We choose to live in Groveland because of its quiet, rural, country charm. If we wanted to live next to a commercial property, we would have chosen to live in the city. Garrison Village is going to have 90 units, one 2-story building and another 3-story building, 100 parking spaces. It will provide registered nursing, a beauty salon, a library, housekeepers, a kitchen that provides daily meals and transportation by Bethany buses. This is what all Bethany communities provide, involves employees and more traffic. If you look at Bethany community buildings in Haverhill, the Phoenix, Mission Towers, the Merrimack Corner, they're all ugly block buildings. Garrison Place is going to impact home values, taxes, water, storage, and electric departments, public safety, fire and police, traffic, wildlife, and the Groveland rural charm. Cities and towns that achieve a minimum housing affordability threshold of 10% may reject the 40B permit applications without facing an appeal from the developer. Won't the Salem Street apartments that are being built fulfill that 10% 40B housing? What is happening to Groveland? You are elected selectmen. You can refuse approval on this project. Use your common sense. This affordable housing project does not belong on Garrison Street. Please do not approve this project.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Next, I have a Jim Ferrara. Did I say it properly? Jim? Thank you.
Hello, let me introduce myself. I'm Jim Ferreira. I live at 11 Fairview Circle in Groveland. To start off, Bethany Community Services has a description of their proposed plan that is far from reality. Looking at their drawings, it shows two to 3 story high structures placed on a higher grade than Fairview Circle, making them appear as if they have 5 towering stories in height with an extremely close proximity to everyone's backyard. This is not what Groveland and their tax-paying voting residents are about. Concerns are the following: nature being replaced with buildings, cars, and parking lots. Annoying facility and lot lighting. Will it be on all night? Water runoff in an area that already sends the natural flow of water into our basements. The added strain to our town's water, sewer, police, and fire departments. Will the existing trees and shrubs remain? Will there be guardrails protecting from accidents and cars in the parking lot and delivery trucks? The town has already approved and is underway an oversized rental project, Salem Street, which we all know will also strain our school system as added children will become into the school system. Expect higher taxes. Since my move here in 2017, taxes have increased every year, I'm pretty sure outpacing the record high inflation we've all experienced. Enough, please. If this project was submitted in a reasonable size and buffer zone to the abutting neighbors, maybe we wouldn't even be here today. But as a direct abutter, I oppose this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Kim Ravida? Did I say that badly? Ravida? Thank you. Go ahead, Kim.
I'm Kim Ravita, 24 Francis Avenue, and I am from Lynn. I am from a city. I moved to a town, and I don't know what's going on with our town. So as I look through our project, first of all, I'm going to second what Jane said, what Joe said, and I'm sorry, I forgot your first name, Jim said. So I'm going to second that. Public water and sewer service for the project will be provided via connections approved by the Town of Groveland Water and Sewer Department. These utilities are available via existing service lines in the street. Now, I don't know the water lines, but I know that some of our residents have paid to have sewer lines put in. In addition, the residential units, the development will include indoor amenity spaces, which I know Jane had mentioned, to serve its residents. Indoor amenities management and leasing operations will be located on the ground floor adjacent to the entry lobby. My mother was a resident of Brooksby Village. She was a resident of Brightview Village. There's a lot of coming and going. We're not saying we don't want affordable housing for our elderly. We do. But as my counterparts have said, 36 Garrison is not the place for it. Single access driveway, a single access driveway for 90 units and delivery vehicles, as it said. I know I wrote it down. Regular delivery vehicles. Well, I don't know about any of you, but regular delivery vehicles are not a pickup truck. They're a big box truck. They make a lot of noise. Where's the quiet of our town going? And I guess really what I would like to know, asking a question, is who brought this particular project to 36 Garrison? I know you can't answer, but that would be my question. Who wants to put it there? Who is going to be the benefit of that to the detriment of the rest of us? So those are my questions. and
Thank you.
comments. Thank you.
And next I have is Sharon Parati. Sharon? Welcome. Hi.
My name is Sharon Parati. I live at 22 Garrison Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I would like to state my opposition to the proposed 90-unit development on Garrison Street. 19 years ago, my husband and I chose to move to Groveland for its small-town, rural appeal that included beautiful, quiet, safe neighborhoods to raise our family and be our forever home. A bonus we're privileged to enjoy on Garrison Street is the beautiful piece of land that abuts our property. Although we were always aware that this was a property held in a private trust, we could never imagine that the owners would be someday proposing 90 units of housing on its 6 acres. In my opinion, a project this size would be detrimental to the neighborhood and the town of Groveland. A project this size would reduce open space and have significant environmental impact, place apartment-style housing in a neighborhood of single-family homes, stress the infrastructure of the town services, water, sewer, fire, ambulance, create significant amounts of local traffic in the neighborhood, create unsafe pedestrian conditions due to the lack of sidewalks on that section of the neighborhood, and create unsafe traffic conditions as the road bends and currently has 2 blind corners in that area. I would also like to point out that this project application is being submitted as a 40B project. My understanding after reading the most recent Groveland Housing Plan is that the new multi-unit 40B development being built on Salem Street will more than satisfy, in fact exceed, the town's requirement to be in compliance with the state law. I do want to acknowledge once again that this parcel of land is privately owned, and I'm not opposed to the owner being able to build on the site. However, I would urge the property owner to consider a project that is significantly smaller in scope and appropriate for the wonderful family neighborhood it will be located in. Again, I would like to state my opposition to this project and respectfully ask the town to deny this 40B project application and urge the property owners to consider another plan for development. Thank you.
And next I have Christina Manicus. Welcome.
Good evening. Just a procedural question. I think I'm the last person on that list.
I have Donna Streeter. Did you want her to go before you?
No. Would there be an opportunity if somebody decides to talk this evening, could they raise their hand and participate or not? I just wanted to know what the rules were.
Well, I'm allowing this time now. We have this applications on our agenda.
At the end of that, after the 7th person, would you allow people to raise their hand and speak?
No, I would prefer if somebody else wants to speak that they let me know now, because we're just trying to keep the meeting moving along.
Okay.
And we've covered a lot of concerns, I think, based on,
Just asking.
okay.
Sorry.
You're welcome.
Sorry
It's
to
okay.
interrupt the flow.
That's all right.
Okay. I'm just going to leave my glasses on. I need them to read, so I guess I'm going to leave on. The proposal from Bethany Homes says that this is designed to work with the existing grading to the greatest extent possible. We don't know what that means. Is that 5%, 10%, 25%? Is kind of nebulous. We need details. There are slopes at 36 Garrison Street, which will increase the impervious surface impacting Fairview, Marjorie, and Benham. There will be an impact for natural infiltration that existed prior to development, causing negative mitigation. We already have problems on Cannon Hill from the construction on King Street. We don't want that to continue. Nichols Trust devoted the care, in the proposal, it says Nichols Trust is devoted to the care of seniors within the town. The last housing production plan indicating that elderly residents want the opportunity to age in place. In fact, the director of Nichols Trust recently passed away. He aged in place, lived in his own home well into his 90s. Perhaps the Nichols Trust could work with the town to develop support for aging in place, property tax relief, subsidies and abatements, providing Groveland's long-term, what Groveland's long-term residents desire. This is the old housing production plan, which is actually the current housing production plan, because the May 21st, 2024 one hasn't been approved yet. And it says, elderly residents want the opportunity not just to remain in the community, but age in place. And it lists a variety of tools to do that with. 36 Garrison is a residential zone. The developer states that the project is harmonious with the surrounding neighborhood and aesthetics. I don't think he's driven up there. This multifamily complex is inconsistent with density structural requirements, non-conforming, and inappropriate for the area. According to the state's 40B handbook, communities should identify the best locations for multifamily housing and plan for the needed infrastructure improvements. I'm going to just give you a copy of that. You probably already have it. And plan for the needed infrastructure improvements. We don't have a multifamily zone. Where is it? Is it on King Street? Is it on Main Street? Is it on Salem Street? Is it on Garrison Street? Where is our multifamily zone? And that document says that if you do that, it will create a process that will be consistent, and then every developer would have to comply with that situation. We don't have that right now. We have multifamily zoning that's random. A little bit here, a little bit there. That's not a good practice. The developer states that he has met with town officials. The Council on Aging was mentioned 3 times. And yet, when we were here in June 24th, the Council on Aging director, I believe that's who it was, she said she needed more information. And it was also repeated at the June Council on Aging meeting. We requested the following information. We requested to know how many of Groveland's senior residents are considered to be low income and how many are in need of housing. This is the answer. We don't have specific data on the number of low-income individuals and how many are in need of housing. However, it's critical for older adults to be able to age in place. We are at half the poverty level of Massachusetts, Essex County, and Merrimack Valley. Our poverty level is 4%. Those 3 categories have an 8% poverty level. Why do we need to be a host community? The developer states that they will be asking for letters of support from you and other officials. The project, if it is right for Groveland, should stand on its own merit. It doesn't because it's not right for our town. Why would any elected or appointed official write a letter of support for this project? The developer states that they have met and informed abutters, Fairview, Garrison, etc. False and accurate. We resent this misrepresentation. Back in May 2018, the Groveland Planning Board stated that Nichols Village needed to donate 2 deed-restricted affordable housing units to the town as part of a written agreement with Nichols Village. This did not happen. Rather, the Planning Board accepted $160,000 in lieu of having affordable units at Nichols Village. Do we or do we not need affordable housing? Housing Production Plan, 2018 to 2022. Engage with Nichols Village management to discuss potential growth opportunities that ensure any future growth include affordable housing. So, food for thought. I'm finishing up. This is from our town website. The town hall wants you to know. This will probably change tomorrow, but anyways. The town hall wants you to know. Groveland is a small residential community that lies along the south banks of the Merrimack River and retains all the characteristics of a rural town with large tracts of land as protected open space. That's the Groveland we know. In keeping with the character of our small town, we ask the following. that town officials investigate other locations for this project, such as land on Nichols Way and/or town-owned land, that the town identify a multifamily zone with realistic zoning requirements, that 36 Garrison Street remain as it is. We've looked into this, and there are no deed restrictions. We understand that the CPA account may be housed with the Conservation Commission. I don't know if that's accurate or not, so that's the only thing I'm wondering about. The town could use $160,000, you know where that came from, and some CPA funds to purchase 36 Garrison and designate Garrison Street through the established process as a scenic road, and 36 Garrison Street as a scenic vista. Here are the requirements as part of our regulations. You need overall scenic beauty, contribution of trees to scenic beauty, scenic views. And not to mention, no one's mentioned this because we're not supposed to, the wildlife. It's a wildlife habitat. Billis Way, the developments on King Street, all destroyed wildlife. They've all moved here. What's going to happen to them? Somebody's got to think about that. I know we're not supposed to, but someone's got to think about that. We are a small town named Groveland for a reason. We don't want it to be overdeveloped land. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. And the last name I have is Donna Streeter. Hi, welcome.
Okay, my name is Donna Streeter. I live on 13 Fairview Circle, directly abutting the back of this project. Let me just get my notes up. So I've seen the plans for the development as well as the application letter. A few statements in the letter attached were a little bit of a stretch, I think. First of all, a couple people have stated this, that they said we've been informed. We have not at all. I heard through Facebook. Secondly, somebody else had mentioned as well that it's supposed to be in the same as like the rest of the neighborhood, residential looking. It's not. The part that abuts my side of the neighborhood is like 20 feet away from my property line, 3 stories high, with parking spaces, sorry. So it's misrepresented, as far as I can tell. Yeah, it's not harmonious at all. Sorry, guys. You guys said a lot, so trying to say something different. Yeah, another thing I'm concerned about too is the runoff from the storms. I know one of my neighbors down the street, even in normal conditions, they get runoff into their road, and a couple times they've had their yard completely flooded. So I can't imagine how it would be if all that construction was there and we had no natural buffer. So that's a big concern. Other than that, that's all I got. Everybody else said everything.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you all of you for coming and for speaking, and you're very, very welcome to stay. The agenda, as it will follow, just so you understand, we have 2 quick items. Well, yeah, we have 2 quick items for discussion, possible vote, and item number 3 is the 36 Garrison Street project, which the board is going to then discuss. I don't think we're making any votes tonight, we're just discussing. Okay, just so everyone understands. After that, there's no further action on that on this agenda after item 3, just so you know. So I want to be transparent and upfront with all of you. So our next agenda item is to introduce Michael Hawes. Hawes?
I was right.
Say it correct? Well, welcome. Michael is a new representative to our Pentucket Regional School Committee, and we welcome you.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a couple minutes just to introduce myself to the committee. I live on 7 Murray Ave. I am kind of disappointed because I thought everyone was here for me. Besides that, that's my own issue. So I ran the last-minute write-in campaign and using the power of Facebook, and so I've been a teacher in Peabody for 19 years. I'm from Peabody. We moved up here about 9 years ago. I have 2 sons in the district, and one is going to go to the 7th grade, and then one is entering 3rd grade. And when the opportunity came up, I was, I know it was last minute, but I was kind of very interested because my sons have had a very positive experience at the Bagnell. The teachers, the staff has been awesome to my kids, and I hope I can be like an outreach to you to know what's going on in the schools. So I appreciate the time, and thank you very much.
It was very nice of you to come in. We could clap for you. And then next on our agenda is the chair, William Dunn, is the chair of the Economic Development Committee. He's bringing us an update. And just by way of information, the Economic Development Committee, I believe it was Bill Dunn's idea to bring it up, and it's made up of 9 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. 6 members are business owners in town. 1 member shall be a representative of the Planning Board. 1 member is a representative of the Zoning Board, and 1 member is a resident. And the committee focuses their efforts in the following areas: advising selectmen and other town boards on issues concerning bylaws, policies, regulations, and zoning that foster commercial growth, strengthen the local economy, and are consistent with maintaining the character of our community. And of course, business, hopefully encouraging some business growth in our business areas. And just quickly, Bill, do you want to run through the other members who are on your committee? Do you have their names? I have their names here if you want me to read them.
I didn't bring the whole list because I didn't know what the updated list was.
This is William Dunn as the chair, and there's Brian Connell and DJ McNulty, Christopher Goodwin, Steve Collins, Angus Jennings, and John Guilfoyle. And the floor is yours to give us an update. What have you
William
guys?
Dunn of 10 Garrison Street, Groveland. I understood that Mr. Watson wanted me to come in and discuss. I didn't know if you have anything directly you wanted to ask me or just get an update of what we're doing.
Yes. They've been in existence a little over a year. How many meetings they had, what has been accomplished, when was the last meeting? And you probably don't meet during that often during the summer. But I'd just like an update. What's been done? How many meetings you've had? Is there any progress?
Sure. So we developed the Economic Board. We had 2 meetings in which, on the second meeting, we developed 3 subcommittees: Town Development, Business Outreach, and Community Events. To this date, I had 2 other meetings, couldn't get a quorum. So then I said I'll go out to each one of the committees and ask them, have they done any work? As of today, the Business Outreach said they've met, nothing come out of it. Community Events met, nothing's come out of it. I can speak on behalf of the Town Development, and the Town Development part of it has been working on the Valley Screw property, and we have had meetings with the, let me get the, so we had meetings with Rebecca, Jason Neves, the Secretary Angus of Urban and Housing Development, Senator Tarr, Representative Ramos, and Representative from Seth Moulton's office, and myself, and some other people. We discussed the Valley Screw building. We discussed trying to get the eyesore taken care of. In that meeting, short and the long of it is with Secretary Angus, and he's going to try and get the tax lien lifted. He's going to try and go through the channels. I don't want to say too much because I got all these guys about housing, but I can tell you that the state is very much for housing. I can tell you that right now. The state of Massachusetts wants housing in the worst way. But that's not what was discussed. The Secretary of Urban Housing Development is going back to the DEP and the EPA. They're going to try and work with them to get us on a positive tax roll. Once we're on a positive tax roll, we're going to meet again at a later date, once we know, discuss 150 Center Street, possibly with the state, the town, doing something in there. We don't know what it is. I know the town filed for a grant to put it out with developers to see what developers think what they can do with that property. Maybe housing, maybe mixed-use housing, or whatever. I know the town has spent quite a bit of money trying to see what they can do with that land and develop it. So it's all in a process, but unfortunately in government, it has to fold. And right now, we're waiting for the first piece to fold, and I think we should know on the grant that we applied through with Rebecca sometime in September on the use. once we have that, hopefully, in another week or two, we had a holiday, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna go back to the Secretary Angus and say, hey, how you doing? Did you able to move anything? I come out of the meeting feeling that the state wants housing. And I think if you guys read the newspapers, you're gonna see they're talking about bringing the MBTA and everything else through Groveland and West Newbury and Georgetown. You know what I mean? We're gonna have to have that conversation. I don't think they're gonna put housing on us, but I think it could be part of it. We might do maybe some mixed use, business mixed use in 150. I think we're going to need, probably gonna need the Washington Street property for access into that property as well. So I don't think you'll see anything get developed on there, but I think you'll ultimately probably use that for an entryway or access into a second access. So all that being said, that's moving. We went over to Chesterton. We had a meeting with Chesterton had a business outreach day for local businesses. We went, maybe 3 or 4 businesses in Groveland showed, not too many. They were talking about loans. They were talking about ways to help them grow their business and what have you. And it was a good morning. They did a good job putting it on. And at that point in time, people could go back to the SBA and say to them, hey, can I get your help? You know what I mean? So that all went well. And as of right now, I'm going to, after we just had the holiday, I'm going to go back to the subcommittees again and say, hey, guys, you want to meet? Every time I seem to set a date, it's just like, maybe I'm going to have to do them later at night, 6:30, 7 o'clock or something. But it's hard getting a quorum. It is. It's hard to get a quorum. But people know me in town. I'll keep pushing on my end and on my committee members to keep moving with the subcommittee. And hopefully we can get something done.
Well, we appreciate your efforts, and we also do appreciate the efforts of all of your members. I know it's hard.
100%. A lot of people, they're business people.
Right, and for those that aren't aware of, when he talks about the Valley Screw, that was a super fun cleanup site on the south side of Groveland, where the owner just walked away and left us with this building that's caving in, and unfortunately, there's just so many layers of red tape attached to it that we need help from the federal government, the state government, and
And I don't want to outspeak, but I do believe we possibly can get a cleanup grant for the building and the underneath the building type thing, possibly we were talking about. Yep. So that could be something we're going to work on as well.
Excellent.
But like I said, our goal is to try and get it so we can get the tax dollars to keep the overrides and everything else in check, and then we'll just keep moving forward. And I think once Secretary Angus is on board, the senator and everyone else, we just got the big water grant through the water department. I mean, it all could be good stuff, but it just takes time.
It does.
So we are working.
Becky, did you have any questions?
No, I don't. Just thank you for what you're doing. I know you're working with business owners. My husband's a business owner, so sometimes scheduling's hard, but I appreciate what you guys do.
Jason?
Yeah, I want to thank you as well, because I know you've been a big help in the Valley Screw project since long before this. And it's a long process and
Well,
a
if anybody
long
knows me,
row.
I like to get it done, and not because my name's done, but it's frustrating because, sometimes it's just slow. It's just, government, it's slow.
It is very frustrating. And also that, the fact that you have an area that can be developed for business, but if you don't have the residential to support it,
Right.
and you don't have the residential to get the builder to actually make enough profit, nobody's going to touch it, nobody's going to build it.
Nope.
And those are the challenges that we face when we look at doing developments and look at doing the, what's feasible and possible to help lower the taxes and.
And that's what you just said going forward would be, if you're gonna do housing in there, I'm talking in 150 Center, and you do mixed use, we gotta find the right, do we care toward elderly? Do we care toward the seniors? You know what I mean? There's gotta be a format that works, and I think what this grant we're going out for, hopefully we'll get these developers to come in and say, they wanna make money. They're not, I shouldn't say this, but they're not going over to 36 Garrison and not making any money. I hate to tell you. They're in that for money, period. And anywhere you go, it's going to be money. So we have to be, as a town, in control of what can we do to make this profitable, help the town, bring money, keep taxes down, and what have you. And I mean, I just hope we can keep pressing this thing forward and make it all good stuff. But thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question. Bill.
Hang on, Ed.
Not done yet.
Yeah, well, okay. Easy?
Nice try.
We have one,
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I know, well, we're busy clapping.
Two questions.
Sure.
First one, is that still considered a brownfield site?
No. It is to a certain point, but they haven't applied. Did we apply for any brownfield money yet?
So it's a Superfund site. It'll always be a Superfund site.
Right, Superfund site, but we haven't applied for any yet.
Okay. I think that would make sense to do that. Second of all, obviously, there's back taxes owed on the property. Has there been any movement towards a forced bankruptcy, going to court and forcing the present owner into a forced bankruptcy and put it out to bid?
I believe there was, and I believe that,
When was that?
I don't know, I wasn't involved in it.
I think if you're asking about the taxes, that our town administrator, we tried to do tax title, correct?
That's when we discovered that there was a lien on the
Yeah,
property.
we can't touch it.
And if you were to foreclose on it, you could potentially find out under the building's contaminated, and the town could take a lot of liability if they own it and have to come in and clean it up. So it's got to be done the right way.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. If you go into court, the present owner, if you force them into bankruptcy, and they'd have to sell the property, so it'll go up to bid. So somebody else would purchase it. And then it would be up to the new owners to do that. Well, they may not want to, so then you force them into a bankruptcy also. So eventually, somebody will purchase that.
No, because there's over, I'm going to not be quoted on the number, but there's $1 million lien from DEP and EPA for the work they've done. So that lien is worth about $300,000, and there's a lien for $1.2 million. So the owner hasn't done anything with that property because he doesn't care. He walked away from it and said, toodaloo, buckaroo. And I know Sam, our building inspector, our town administrator, has gone out there, made him put fencing in and what have you because of that. But he has no skin in the game anymore. He doesn't. He'd rather walk away from it and say, see you later. He don't have the money to tear that down. He don't have the money to clean it. He has to pay that lien off of 1-point-something million first, then sell it for what, 300 grand? He has no skin in the game.
Well, I know, I think, I was way back when I met with you and the rest over there, quite a few years ago. There was, it asked the EPA, or the DEP, maybe both, about is there any contaminants in the basement? And their thing was, we're not going in the basement.
100%. They're not going in the basement.
So there could be. And
And if you remember the time I was there, I said, the roof is open, water's leaking in the building, and if there is contaminants, it's going back in the ground that we just spent, they did, not us, millions of dollars to clean it up. That's why I was saying we need to get on this sooner than later. COVID hit, things got shut down with COVID, we had to stop the thing. We just restarted it again 3 months ago. Moving forward with it.
well, how could the EPA and the DEP pull out of there if they haven't even checked for any pollution in the basement? That doesn't make
Not
sense.
responsible inside the building, they said. They're responsible for the outside of the building. They did do some infrared camera work in the building. Am I correct when I say that, Rebecca?
Yes,
And
they
they
did.
did say that it was somewhat okay for them?
Yes, they said that the contamination levels were at levels in which they would decommission their treatment facility, and they removed all of their equipment that is in the brick building that is directly behind the Valley Screw property.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for coming in.
More
And
clapping.
oh, come on, give him another round. He's worth it. There we go. So, I believe next on our agenda, item 3, is the Garrison Street. Yes, I got a full screen here. Sorry about that. Here we go. So, item 3 is the 36 Garrison Street project eligibility letter that has been submitted to the Executive Office of Housing and Communities. So all members of the board have received this letter, I would assume, in the attached packet. And we've all heard the comments from the residents that surround that. We have not been asked to write a letter or anything at this point. Bethany Homes has not approached us directly. They gave us the letter I think it says at the end that it was hand-delivered to me, but it actually came kind of digitally, not by hand. But because we didn't really have it as an agenda item, it was under correspondence, we didn't really discuss it at all. And so I wanted to give the board members here, there's just 4 of us, one's missing, the opportunity to just raise questions or concerns or things on this letter that we might want more information on. We've heard from all of you, and I thank you for all of that. So everybody on the board has read the letter, reviewed it, and we'll kind of just go down the line. Ed, do you have any questions or concerns?
Yes, questions, concerns, comments. Look, Groveland is a small town. This will totally change it from a rural community to a city. We're not a city. We don't need 90 units on this 6 acres of land. At our last meeting, I asked that we not proceed with this until we sit down and meet with the planning board. And the paperwork from the last meeting, there was a committee that was established. But there was some organizations or departments in the town that weren't included. One would be the highway. Where Nichols Village is now on the state road, that's a Class A road. It can sustain truck traffic, heavy truck traffic. Garrison Street is not. So what's going to happen to our road? What's it going to cost for the highway department to maintain it? You're going to have delivery trucks right at the start to build this project. How about the water? Everybody all over town is complaining about the quality of our water. Well, so this is going to add to it. How about the police and fire? What are their calls going to be to this project? And they can try to figure that out. The finance board should be involved in this. This is going to be expensive for the town. And a lot of different things that come before the selectmen, I asked for, what's this going to be to the cost for the town? And I know that this is for a development of seniors, but it's still going to affect other people. You could, as an example, it was brought up to me. As an example, you get a husband and wife, senior citizens, they move out of their house, they move to this project on Garrison Street. They got a couple of bedrooms. So you're going to have a family move in there with children. That's going to impact the schools. So it's all intertwined. So get the finance board involved. And what is this going to actually cost us? There's no sidewalks on Garrison Street. And I kind of chuckle when I read this. The buildings will be designed to fit the characteristic of the surrounding community regarding aesthetic and mass. The buildings will also be built with sustainable design standards. There isn't another 3-story building in that whole area. And in fact, there may only be 1, maybe 2 multifamily duplexes in that surrounding area. This is going to change the total character of the town, and I think that we should hold off on this letter until we sit down and see what the planning board is looking at. And another thing, Bethany Homes is a nonprofit organization. These are going to be 90 rental units. So a nonprofit, they're not paying taxes on it. So like Nichols Village up there. And we're besieged with calls on the police and fire department going up to Nichols Village. It increases their calls. And this is a direct cost to the town. And I think that all of these other agencies, fire, police, finance, water, highway, they ought to be weighing in on this. And maybe even the school department. What's this going to affect the school? And I know you can't ask for an impact study for the school, but it could. I'm all set for now.
Okay,
I think.
good. Go down, Jason?
No, I said my piece last meeting.
Okay. And Becky?
Well, I looked at the document. The parts that I found intriguing were, the Groveland Fire Department, the impact assessment that they did. So for me, I'll agree with Mr. Watson that I think having some data, I think, is really important to make a fair assessment. I think feelings are very important. I'd like to pair those with some facts as well. Looking at those plans, it does look like a giant couple of buildings there. Again, that's just the initial plans. So for me, I'd be interested in seeing some sort of financial analysis of the cost of building something like this and sustaining a neighborhood like this versus the revenue. Is there any benefit to us at all? I know when they initially said it was the number of units, I know Whitestone Village has 100 units. I thought it would be a little bit more like that, but when I saw the plans, it's a little bit different. So my initial reaction is I need to see more data. And I know we're just in the initial step anyway. That's all I got.
Okay, so, again, I think many of you residents have raised very, very valid concerns. The same concerns that we will later be talking about. When we get to old business, we're going to look again at the end of our agenda at the housing production plan review done by the Merrimack Valley Planning Agency, because it does include some mention of this project as well. And that's a draft that Merrimack Valley, the housing production plan, that is something that's still under review. All of these things are under review, okay? And the plan, as our town administrator said, has not actually been submitted to the town. And I think if they did submit it, am I right, it would go right to, they would need to go to zoning, not planning, right?
It would go through the zoning board of appeals,
Yeah,
correct?
because that area is not zoned for that type of building. So the area on Garrison Street is not zoned for that type of housing. Correct, yeah, right. So that's why they would have to go the 40B zoning route. And again, we are waiting on the one on Salem Street to become permitted, in which case we would be able to turn down, my understanding, layman, that point we would have met our criteria, and then we can now choose when and where we want different types of housing, and so I'm hopeful that we're moving towards that mark. I know that our town administrator is now wearing two hats, town administrator and town planner, because she's that qualified, and I noticed that she works very diligently on the planning side of the town as much as the administrative side of the town. So we have good expertise on the town side, looking at the same concerns that you raised. And this is not a done deal, okay? This is just, they had to send a letter to the state, they had to draw something, they had to send in a plan. You don't just send nothing. So this doesn't mean that the town has said, yes, we want this, this is a great idea. We have not spoken on this, nor have we been asked formally yet to speak. When they say in their letter they're going to be asking for letters, to my best of my knowledge, the Board of Selectmen has not been asked for a letter. So for me personally, when I look at this and I think about Groveland, and I've seen the growth in the areas around us, and to me the biggest hidden treasure about Groveland is that somehow sandwiched in between Haverhill, which is a city, and Georgetown, which is really busy, we're still pretty quiet. We're still got that small town characteristic where, you can, when your child is old enough, let them go ride their bicycle out to the park. And you know that other people know who your child is, and if they need help, they'll help them. If they fall down, somebody's going to stop, give your child a hand. And that's an important part of Groveland. And the Merrimack Valley Planning Organization, in their report, which we'll address later on, talks about those things and talks about some of the issues you raised about where do we want multifamily housing? Where do we want it? Because we need to have some areas where perhaps an older home can be converted into a duplex or a three-family home and still look like the town, but provide some of that. Because it has been identified that right now we're basically building, very, very expensive housing in Groveland. And those entry-level homes that many of us were able to get into in the beginning aren't that available. And on the same other side of it, for seniors that decide, oh, I want to age in place, I want to stay in Groveland, these are my friends, this is my family, but I don't want my 3 or 4 bedroom home. Not a lot of choices right now. And I'm not saying this is the good choice, I'm saying this has been identified. So I think it's great that you're involved now. I hope you'll stay involved, keep following these things. I know Rebecca posts things on the town website all the time. If you feel you've missed something, if you email her, or now we have an executive assistant? Coordinator, Annie, who will also jump on and get you any information that we have available. Definitely, we want to be completely transparent. We value all of you, and I think, we're all in this together. We're one town. So I just wanted to get this on the agenda, make sure we got your input duly recorded onto our minutes with your name and address so that now it is a part of a public record. And I thank you for that. It's so hard to say no to you. What is it, Christina?
Merrimack Valley Planning Commission's draft was on May 21st, and in it was, oh, thank you. And in it, the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission's Housing Production Plan draft was dated May 21st, and in it is Garrison Street on May 21st. At some point, someone has to tell us, how in the world did that get in there without us knowing about it?
Well, Christina, if you're willing to hang on till we get to
I
that
am.
part of the agenda.
And I hope
I'll tell
everybody
you,
else
there's
does, too.
other things like where the Cedardale used to be multifamily housing. I wasn't aware of. So I think what they did is they reached out to see what could possibly happen.
Okay.
But it is still our draft. It's our draft. They give it to us and then it's our draft, okay? So,
Can I interrupt? Can I ask one quick question?
of course.
When you're dealing with the state and you're dealing
Yes.
with the low income, there's no guarantee, as far as I know, that people from Groveland would actually get that housing.
The state sends in who they want to send in. There's a waiting list. So even if they built that, I don't think there's a guarantee that it would be people from Groveland that got those units. If you're on the waiting list from another town, and you're from another town, if you're on the list first, you get it.
And all those are.
The same way it works with other 40B housing.
Correct. We know these concerns. We understand.
It's just
Okay.
something
But thank
The
you.
only thing I want to clear up is there's a difference between 40B and subsidized and income-based properties. This is going to be an income-based affordable housing property, and there will be a waiting list. And the waiting list is going to be weighted on Groveland residents, and they can do that with the way that they set it up. It's just a matter of
Picking
preference.
who's going in or the town?
It's Bethany Homes that's going to manage it from start to finish, and it's going to be the state subsidized. But it's based on their income, and it's not based on the state-selected people. So it's just,
Right. I'm going to stop this right.
it's guaranteed that they will have the first opportunity. So they'll be moved to the front of the list, just like we do with the permits for the fields and everything else.
Again, I think it's just a little early because we have not met with Bethany Homes as a board to ask these questions. And we also are still checking on the issue of the permits for the Salem Street to see if we're going to be what they call safe harbor. In other words, then we can say no to a 40B and not have to be concerned. But we're alert. We're thinking on it. If you think there's anything that we're not looking at, please feel free to email it into us. If you just, I want to kind of keep the agenda. Okay.
But you have not met, but yet the information that you have is official
The-
from the town of Groveland,
So-
with whom the Bethany project team has met.
Again, to clarify, the technical meeting, that's not the Board of Selectmen.
So the town of Groveland, though,
Well, they're using the term loosely. What it is anybody who's going to build a project has a meeting with, the head,
Town
Rebecca,
planner.
So
yeah,
the
wait.
technical review conference is something
There
that
we
we
go.
do for businesses that are looking to do business here in Groveland. So essentially, for example, we'll use a different, so Cedardale is up for sale. So there's many people who are interested in doing or developing Cedardale. So they're asking, what can you do at Cedardale? Can you do housing? Can we keep it as a sports camp? Can we do recreation? What can we do? So we invite them in to have a comprehensive conversation to figure out exactly what the zoning would allow and what different departments would require. So if they were to move forward, would they require site plan review under the planning board? Would they require a variance if they wanted to put a building in a certain location? Would they require a traffic signal if they were going to generate a lot of traffic? Are they located approximately 100 feet from a wetland? So what is it that they would need to do in order to move forward with their project? So it is a very, very preliminary understanding of what our regulations require them to do in order to move forward with an idea that they might have. Does not issue them an approval. They will have to file with the appropriate boards. Will have to do a butter notification. So it is very, 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 very preliminary, just to give them an understanding of what it is that they could possibly do at a particular location. So it does not grant them approval. It does not grant them support. All it does is give them background as to what they would be required to do under the laws, under what the town has approved per zoning and all of the other regulatory requirements, whether local and/or state and/or federal in some cases.
And they met with the Groveland Council on Aging, which is kind of interesting.
They did specifically request to meet with the Groveland Council on Aging, and I believe they met with the Council on Aging director. That was not a group meeting, so I'm not sure what the conversation was, but I believe that they wanted to target the marketing of affordable housing to seniors or older adults in Groveland and see what the need would be, to see whether or not that would be a project that they would want to put forward, and there'd be interest from Groveland residents to pursue that type of housing. So it really is a due diligence phase in trying to understand as much as they possibly can about the community and what they could put in a particular location, and whether or not, as everyone has stated, it's profitable for them to move forward in that direction. So all of it is due diligence, information gathering, for them to figure out whether or not this is the appropriate location and the plan that they would like to put forward.
Okay. I think we know as much as we're going to know at this moment in time. And I think that your concerns and your questions, and hopefully you're feeling that things have happened behind your back, or so to speak. There was a sense I first got from some residents. Hopefully now you understand that was not the intention, that what happened was that technical kind of meeting. Council on Aging Director, I don't know about that meeting. I know about my board. I know we have not met with Bethany Homes. So,
And who was the person that met with, that says, who was the town official who met with Bethany?
well,
Who's going to be speaking for us as residents, saying that there's a possibility of this? I mean, who was the person?
We're not at that point yet. This
Well,
state
wait,
has
hang
to
on.
approve the application before we get an opportunity to speak on behalf of you.
Well, somebody just said, I think it was Rebecca, just said that they actually spoke with someone who was in the town. That's-
From the town, yes. They spoke with the town planner, the town administrator, and said, hey, this is the property, this is what we want to do, how does this take place?
Right.
And they're told, the only way you can do that is circumvent all of our zoning laws by doing a 40B.
right, and we're working diligently to make sure that we don't have to accept a 40B that we don't want, because we already have approved the Salem Street to go forward, and that more than satisfies our criteria for low-income housing.
Right, and I understand that. I just have a problem with the state. Why have they not permitted this place over on Salem Street that's been going for, what, 5 years? I mean,
Well, they-
what's holding up the permit? Is it because they want to try to squeeze another project that's going in?
The permit is
If you
approved.
let our town planner.
Sorry,
determine-
so the
go ahead.
permit for the development over on Sewell Street has been approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. It was approved back in 2018. Due to the pandemic and additional financing that would take for the developer to actually construct the actual development, it has taken a little bit longer to secure that financing and move forward. But he has essentially assembled all he needs to do in order to move forward with that building permit, and we expect him to do so in the next few weeks, to be honest with you. So it is moving, it's just a little slower with the pandemic, and honestly, financing, to do a development of that size, it's gonna take a lot of money, and to have that capital on hand, he's gotta get the financing in place, so it's a little bit longer, but he has all of his ducks in a row, and he has been working diligently to get that accomplished, and we believe he will do so. And the Zoning Board of Appeals did approve more units than we had to at that particular point in time in order to gather, or to gain safe harbor, and to meet our 10% subsidized housing inventory with the 2020 census numbers coming out, because they had not been released in that point in time. So that development should take us over our 10% subsidized housing inventory numbers. So once he pulls that permit, we should have that safe harbor in hand. But again, the permits have already been approved, it's just the building permit that's on hold because of the financing.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And the only other thing is like I said last meeting, and like Senator Tar confirmed, safe harbor is not permanent. And once it goes away, then we can't say no.
But we can find another area in the meantime to do that. Okay?
Is it, Bill, is it critical?
I'd like to just say one thing.
Okay,
You have a room full of a bunch of concerned citizens.
yes.
The only thing I think everyone here, and what I've been sitting here listening to, they want to have say. And can we somehow make sure the town moving forward either has a representative from this group to talk with the town to make sure if there's a meeting coming up, they're informed? I think that's all everyone here wants. Everyone here in this room just wants say.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very well organized. And what the point of tonight was to make sure that on the record, we now have a public record of name, address, and comments, concerns, so that it's very clear point of view of the residents that abut these properties. So I think that we've accomplished that very, very well tonight. And I thank everybody for their time. I know it's not easy cutting out time to come down here. So at this point, I'm going to move on to agenda item 4, and then if you're still wanting to hear more about the housing plan production, after we do appointments, which go pretty quickly, under old business, we're going to once again look at the housing production plan that's been referred to when we were talking about the Garrison Way. But you can always go home and watch it on television, too. It's up to you. Welcome to stay or not.
Madam Chair, may I say one quick thing?
Absolutely.
Just to let we had been notified by Bethany Homes actually today that they would like to be holding an information session on July 25th, that they will be sending notification out. So they will be
on
soliciting
your
comment
calendar.
and looking to feedback from the residents. So as soon as we get the final date and time and location, we will be sending that out on all social media and posting on the digital board, et cetera, so that you all have an opportunity to attend and have that conversation.
Will let us go off for that?
We can ask them. Again, it's their show. We just want to make sure that we're getting the information out, as the chairwoman had said. But we can ask them and see if they would do a butter notification and also mailings of that nature. So we can definitely ask.
But we're all like connected now, so we'll keep everybody informed. Item number 4, I'm going to move on to. It's going to sound rather ridiculous, but a ways back, I mentioned that it would be nice, we always thank departments, and we thank people in town who come out and do above and beyond, but something like a rolling shout-out wall on our town website, maybe on our Facebook page, would allow both people that are on committees and residents, if you find somebody in town has helped you out a lot and you want to recognize them, we're seeking to kind of create that rolling shout-out board, you know. And not for this. This is not shout-out. Shout-out would be, you know, hey, thank you for so-and-so helped me shovel my driveway, or thank you, Highway Department, for taking care of that storm, that kind of thing. Because we try to keep up with that, but I feel like we probably don't catch it all, and this maybe would allow residents to submit a shout-out to our executive assistant, and then it could be reviewed and then put on the board. And that was just an idea I had, and I didn't know how my board members felt about that. What do you say? Like a rolling, scrolling,
I have no opinion.
no opinion? Jason?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Becky?
I love it. Anything that gives attention to positive
All right.
things that are happening in town, I think is really good.
Okay, so I'll look into a little bit more how we do it. I'll see if any other towns have done it, and then we'll put it up on the agenda for a final, let's do it thing. Number 5 is the LED digital board policy. That's requested by our town administrator.
Yes, so I was looking to see whether or not we could move forward with a policy in regards to the digital board out front. Nothing more than, trying to be helpful in organizations or getting information out there, but there's been more so recent requests. Can you make it green? Can you make it stay on for 30 seconds instead of 10 seconds? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you add a photo? It's too grainy. It's too this. I've only seen this. So it becomes very, very tedious in terms of trying to get information out there and trying to just make sure everything's kind of uniform and continuous so that everybody's getting the same treatment and the same spotlight. I mean, obviously, if it's election day, we're going to make sure that it says that it's election day, the polling locations, the hours, and have it set. But when, so-and-so is holding an event or something of that nature, then to try and give them, the spotlight and, get everything situated, it's just been a little bit more complicated and time-consuming, which is not something that we really kind of want to be taking on. So I just figured that if we move forward with a policy, it would kind of keep everything in check. It makes things a little bit more smoother and streamlined, and we have a checklist, so everyone's getting the same treatment, and everybody is getting the same screen time, the same formatting, et cetera. So I put together, in coordination with the executive coordinator, a policy. A lot of it is something that we stole from other communities that do something very similar, so we're not reinventing the wheel. So we were hopeful that the board would look favorable upon this and move forward towards adoption.
Okay, so we're talking about the policy for the digital board, and do we have any comments or concerns about that?
I had one question, because I do hear feedback that it goes by fast. Is there like a character limit that you have? I mean, obviously, it's one size, but if it's like 2 words, it's like, I understand the 15 seconds, but when it's a lot, I've missed it. I start to read, and I'm like, oh, I'll have to come back around.
So we don't have a character limit. It wasn't something, but I mean, obviously, the screen's small, so
Right.
like it depends on if you put like the date in a larger font and you do different things. So
Right.
we can definitely prolong it a little bit longer than the 10
Just a
second.
little.
But we can do the 15. Technically, it's set to a default setting, which is about 5 seconds, so we've increased it to 10.
Wow, okay.
But we can definitely do 15. It's just the other complaint on the other side is that you only see one event every single time you drive by, and it's the
Right.
same exact thing, so it defeats the purpose of trying to get information out there as well.
I get
So
it.
it's almost like, we just try and highlight the title and the date and the time. So maybe that's something we could take into consideration, is that you're just limiting it to those 3 items
Yes.
instead of,
Yeah, I think that would be a good compromise. Or we could do 12.5 seconds and meet in the middle. But I think
Yes.
just having less on there, less is more.
I agree with you, because again, the more that's there, the harder it is to read, for sure.
Jason?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good idea to limit the amount that goes on there. Not only for that, just for, you don't get so distracted trying to read it as you drive by. I never could see it myself until I got glasses, so.
And you were driving?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Ed?
No, I'm good with it.
Okay, so you're going to say that we're going to limit it to, like, how many messages at any one time on the loop? Like 3, 5?
Yeah, we can make an adjustment in terms of like what you would say, like, and put in there that it would say the crucial date, time, notice, and limit it to the 3 lines like that.
I'm just also wondering if you should limit it to a number of actual events that can be rolling through at any one time. Otherwise,
Okay.
it just becomes, tough, maybe.
We could do that. We don't typically have, I mean, right now, I think we only have 2 items and one had already passed. So it's not, we don't struggle with that, but it's not something that we shouldn't plan for in the future.
So you can just put happy summer up there and call it a day. Okay, yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. I think that anything that kind of keeps it easy and it takes a hassle out of it is great. So, do you need us to vote on that or anything, or?
Yes, since it's a policy, I would need the board to approve.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the LED digital board policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the LED digital board policy.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? There be none. All in favor? It's unanimous, 4 with 1 absent. Okay. Next is appointments and resignations. I have number 6, appoint Christian W. Samatora of Haverhill as a full-time officer for the Groveland Police Department, effective July 1st, 2024. I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Christian W. Seminator of Haverhill as a full-time officer for the Groveland Police Department, effective July 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. I next have to appoint Kelvin Valdez of Bradford as a part-time dispatcher for the Groveland Police Department, effective July 1st, 2024.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kelvin Valdez of Bradford as a part-time dispatcher for Groveland Police Department, effective July 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next item is to appoint Jeffrey Gillen, Police Chief, as the Emergency Management Director, effective July 1st, 2024.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jeffrey Gillen, Police Chief, as Emergency Manager Director, effective July 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next item, pursuant to Section 137-4 of the General Bylaw, appoint Ellen Petrillo as the Town Accountant, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-4 of General Bylaw to appoint Ellen Petrillo as Town Accountant, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next item, pursuant to Section 137-8 of the General Bylaw, appoint Richard Danforth as the Plumbing Inspector, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-8 of General Bylaw to appoint Richard Danforth as Plumbing Inspector, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next is pursuant to Section 137-8 of the General Bylaw, appoint Robert Baldini as the alternate Plumbing Inspector, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-8 of General Bylaw to appoint Robert Baldini as the alternate Plumbing Inspector, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent.
Madam Chair, sorry, I made one error or two errors. And the next one, the section is 137-9, not -4, for both of the Inspector of Wires.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. Okay, so pursuant to Section 137-9 of the General Bylaw, appoint Thomas Tombarello as the Inspector of Wires, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-9 of General Bylaw to appoint Thomas Tamburello as the Inspector of Wires, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next is pursuant to Section 137-9 of the General Bylaw, appoint Kevin Waddington as the alternate Inspector of Wires, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-9 of General Bylaw to appoint Kevin Waddington as the alternate Inspector of Wires, effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent.
Madam Chair, sorry, the last two should be section 137-12, not 4.
Okay, thanks. Pursuant to Section 137-12 of the general bylaw, appoint Carlos Husak as the constable effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-12 of General Bylaw to appoint Carlos Husak as the constable effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There be none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Next item, pursuant to Section 137-12 of the general bylaw, appoint Edward Reed as the constable effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion pursuant to Section 137-12 of the general bylaw to appoint Edward Reed as the constable effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll second that.
It's moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There be none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. Next on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the Select Board meeting from May 18th, 2024. I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Select Board meeting minutes for Monday, May 28th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Jason, seconded by Becky. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? It's unanimous with one absent. And now we're on to item number 17, the Housing Production Plan Review. I know from watching your last meeting, you all discussed going to the planning board meeting at their next meeting agenda. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's on the 17th, you said?
I have the 16th.
Oh, the 16th. Do I have my dates mixed up? I might have them mixed up.
That actually sparks a question from me.
Okay, well, just going through, I'm just going back to quickly scroll up. I reviewed the report again in its entirety, because it's a fairly lengthy report. For those of you that haven't seen it, that's 36 pages. It talks about a lot of the items that were raised tonight about Groveland being a small town, that we have experienced some household growth over the last several years. From 2010 to 2020, we gained about 300 residents. It describes Nichols Village as a market rate senior living facility, which recently expanded. And it does note the Zoning Board of Appeals approval of the 192 multifamily complex. This would be the Salem Street property. That would help the town achieve the goal of 10% housing as required under the state. So what's being asked of us, and I believe the planning board votes prior to the Board of Selectmen, is to review the report, see what we agree with, see if there's anything in here that we feel is lacking or not descriptive of our town. And I think I'm going to scroll right to the end. There's one page at the end where they do list all possible housing production. I'm just looking for it. That they feel they have uncovered in their study of Groveland. They do a study, they do a map, they show the zoning, and then at the very end of it, they list. Yeah, I know, I'm getting to it. It takes a while, huh? Here it is, it's right here. Right, so on this list, they list 150 Center Street, which we have put out to, using grants, trying to figure out what, the town owns this property. I think it's about 60 acres, is that right? Rebecca? 60 acres, including our town wells, right?
So for the 150 Center Street,
Yes.
it is about 60 acres that the town had set aside as part of the original busing property, so 61.32 acres, and the wells in the back are on another 100-plus
Oh, and then-
acres.
Okay.
And that also includes CPC protected land.
Okay. So that's a piece of property that is currently being paid for on your taxes through a debt exclusion. And there's been some requests from residents, well, can't we do something with that land to make it produce some revenue? And I think in our discussion of the Garrison Street, we kind of crossed over a little onto this. We spoke of the fact that, well, if you just go and put a business down there, right, who's going to go to it? There's nobody there. It's a vacant area of town. So that's why we've been seeking plans or ideas from developers as to what could work there, what type of housing, what type of a commercial housing mix could maybe invigorate that area, and it could become a revenue producer for the town instead of just a cost on your tax bill, while still protecting our wells. And then the next one I see is 181 R School Street, and that's a single-family subdivision that says it's in progress. You mean,
So there's currently a
7.
preliminary subdivision that was filed for that particular property. Originally, it was the site of a potential 40B development that was proposed by Minco Corporation. The gentleman had come back before the the select board, I want to say back in around like I think a little bit before or after the Sewell Street project came before the board, and then they had revised their proposal and just most recently filed a preliminary subdivision with the planning board. They were ultimately denied their permit, but it's a preliminary subdivision, so that really has no weight in them moving forward. So they are going to be moving forward with the definitive subdivision filing. They were just most recently in contact with us about the mailing, so I assume that should be coming within the next few weeks.
okay. And then Cedardale, the old Cedardale, the one that used to be the day camp, is on the market, and we've spoken of it, and it's listed here as a multifamily possible facility.
So currently, the property is not zoned for what it's currently being utilized as. So it will only maintain its grandfathered status for a certain amount of time after that use has been abandoned. So currently, the zoning would support housing in that particular area. We do not allow for multifamily housing anywhere within Groveland unless you have a certain amount of acreage, which you could potentially file a comprehensive a conservation subdivision development, which is they call a CSD for short, or a planned unit development, which is a PUD, and that's what you see over at Whitestone and Nichols Village.
Okay, so this would not be a 40B. This would be something that would,
They could potentially file a 40B if they wanted to.
okay, but right now, we're not anticipating that.
No, the most recent TRC for the most recent calls that we've had have expressed interest in maintaining it as a recreational facility and continuing to hold on to that grandfather status. But again, the clock is ticking, so if there's no movement in a certain amount of time, they will lose that right, and it will be forced into being a residential development unless we change our zoning to reflect something else.
I see, okay, that's good. And then Nichols Village is the next thing listed, which of course we know is senior housing, and that's like 100 units, is it 100 or more than 100 units?
105 last time I looked.
105, okay. Okay, some of it's apartments, and then there's some cottages, right? And then the Salem Street 40B is listed because it says here permitted, but we're hopeful.
It is permitted. The Zoning Board of Appeals, as the comprehensive permit granting authority, has granted approval for the development. So technically, it is approved. It's just that we don't get to consider or count those units towards our subsidized housing inventory until a building permit is actually pulled.
Okay.
And that's the stall.
So that's what we're waiting on, okay. And then following that is SD Park. I'm not familiar with,
So that's where the current storage facility is, across from
Yes.
Parker Fence, I believe it is, over by
Yeah.
the rail trail on Main Street.
yep,
So there's potential room for development. They've talked about doing housing there before. I know that particular property owner was before the Zoning Board of Appeals when they were going through some of the residential properties that are currently zoned on that particular land, in addition to the business mixed-use element that is currently there as well.
So this would be land that's behind the storage units?
It would be the storage unit facility, that large parcel. I'm not sure exactly how many acres. I can pull that up.
So they want to tear down their storage units?
No, they have land.
There's
on the
more
right
land.
side.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm trying to get to. Okay, yeah, so they have more land around the storage units, and they're talking about trying to do something with that. Huh. Okay. And that goes all the way down to the river, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
So that acre for 441 Main Street is actually 13 acres of land.
Okay, so it's 13 acres, privately owned right now by the people that have the storage units.
That's correct, Eric
Okay,
Harper.
Okay. And then after that, I mean, we all heard former Selectman Bill Dunn talk about Valley Screw, that building on Washington Street. Any progress is good progress when it comes to that thing, so hopefully. And then the last thing listed is 36 Garrison Street, senior housing 40B, but 40B has not been filed yet.
That's correct.
Correct, okay. So when we look at this report, and when it goes to the planning board for their first vote, are they going to just vote this list the way it is, or are they going to change it?
So the list was generated based upon community engagement sessions, and as you had stated correctly before, is taking a look at what land we have available for such development. Groveland is very fortunate in the sense that the CPA monies have been utilized to purchase and protect a lot of the open space and the land that we have available, which gives Groveland its community and its characteristics. So there's not much land that you can actually develop on. And during that process, taking a look at exactly what we had available to us and what we had available through the parcel configurations, those were the sites that were identified by other developers and/or were open space and not protected that were listed as potential development sites. So the planning board could very much alter the sites that are listed, but the process was not necessarily to say that's what we want to see as much as those are the parcels that we have available to us. Otherwise, it has a conservation restriction on it. It's Article 97 land, it's agricultural land, it's all preserved, so there was no opportunity to provide any other locations for developments that didn't already have a subdivision, a house, or something of that nature.
Okay. Well, my question is, and just kind of playing devil's advocate, and then I'll let anybody else on the board weigh in, is when you list the 36 Garrison Street, could we list it in the same manner that the SD Park is listed, with like just blanks, because the town hasn't really taken a position on this property? Because my concern is that the way that initial letter was written by Bethany Homes, it sounded like, we were kind of on board, and I feel like this is listed specifically, 36 Garrison Senior Housing 40B, rental affordable, 90 units. Like, couldn't Bethany Homes kind of say, look, they approved the report from the Merrimack Valley Planning that has it right on there? I wouldn't want to mislead Bethany Homes or the public, because, right now, there's been no position taken. So would it be possible to list the Garrison Street in the same manner as the SD Park?
Yes.
Is that okay to
100%.
do?
You can list it, you can not list it, you can change the way that it's categorized.
Well, I wouldn't ignore it. We know it's privately owned, and that's, at some point, something may happen to it. So it'd be, I think, ill-advised to not list it. I just would not want to give Bethany Homes the impression that we've made up our minds one way or the other. I don't want to take it off the list, like, we're done with you, and I don't want to list it specifically, but I don't know if that's appropriate for this type of report that we're supposed to approve after the planning board approves it.
It is the town's report, and if the town decides that they would like to support or not support, or put a label on something or categorize something, then that is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Okay, thank you. Because the rest of the report, when I read about it, they talk about our character of our small town. They talk about all the things that people in here tonight have mentioned. It's a well-written report, I think, from what I've seen, but if everybody else would like to weigh in.
Yeah, I think, just based on the last meeting, I think we really need to revisit the ask of this plan, because saying yes to it isn't saying yes to all those properties. That was my understanding. I rewatched the May 28th meeting where they presented this, and I know there was an ask from Mr. Watson with some concern about this line item. And even in the meeting minutes we just approved, it says approval of the draft by the select board is not committing the town to recommended strategies. Rather, it shows that the select board supports the plan. So it's nothing we're tied to. So approving a plan isn't saying I approve all these. I'm not saying let's build on Valley Screw property. I'm not saying let's build on SD. I'm not saying let's build on Garrison Street. It was just set up to be a strategy for planning and developing affordable housing. But I'm with you, if we want to clear that out, still have it listed. But I think we need to approach it as, it's not saying yes to all those conceptual properties.
Right.
It's saying yes to the plan.
Right, and that's why nothing's been specifically filed with the town.
Right.
That's why I thought to just leave it listed as conceptual.
Yeah, yeah.
The Salem Street, something's been filed with the
Right.
town, so we know more specifically about it.
Yeah.
That was my only thought.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it stays separate, because I think as a resident, it's confusing, right? The housing production plan, you think we're all saying yes to all these properties, and I think it's deceiving when we relay it that way. So it's a completely separate ask, but to your point, to be safe, to err on the side of caution, I think clearing that out, that line would be a good thing to do.
Jason?
I think it's important to have it listed because that's how people know what people are planning on putting there. They're thinking about it. And without it there, then it becomes, well, you knew it was there, but it wasn't shown that this is what they were doing. So I understand it's there, it's conceptual, that's exactly what it is. It's a concept that somebody is trying to get done. And just like any other one that's concept, it's just a concept that somebody wants to get done. It hasn't been formally presented to the town as an application or anything at this time, because they have to go through the state to do so. So we have no say at this point whether we approve it, agree with it. And they will be asking for our input when the state gets more situated.
I guess what I get back to is somehow before we saw the letter, the Merrimack Valley Planning had this information. Is that correct? Am I saying that? Date-wise here. Like before the letter was delivered to us, this was written. And so that, do I have my dates wrong?
No, you
Okay.
have your dates correct. There would been talks for, as an open parcel that's zoned for development. So when we picked when those parcels were selected, those are the remaining parcels of land that could be developed that's not just your average single-family home with an acre or less land. So anything that had more than an acre's worth of land that were developable properties that weren't wetlands or a conservation-restricted land were identified. That's how little land you have available in Groveland to develop. There's not that many parcels to choose from. So it wasn't that we said that it was going to be a 40B development and we knew it was going to happen prior to this application being filed. It's that the land was chosen because it had more than an acre's worth of property, didn't have a conservation restriction in terms of development, could be developed, and the only way that it could be developed for anything for multifamily housing, because it doesn't have 10-plus acres, which would trigger it to be a PUD or a CSD like we talked about before, the only way it could be multifamily housing is if a 40B was filed. That is the only way. So it was identified as a parcel of land with over an acre that had developable potential that could be developed with current zoning only by filing a 40B.
Okay, I guess I wouldn't object to if it didn't have the specific number of units and all that, because this report, the draft is dated May 21st, right? And the letter, I'm going way back now, May 21st, the letter is dated, June 6th. So the Merrimack Valley Planning had that specific information prior to June 6th. I guess I don't know. I mean, I suppose people talk to people.
So May and June are very close together, and the amount of plans that you would have to put together in terms of engineering, et cetera, would give you that information. So there was nothing planned that was in I guess I'm confused as to the question. So
Well,
the parcel was identified and listed in the plan. It went through review in terms of sending it over to review corrections, et cetera, with the MVPC, and go through that process. And then through that process, we talked about the TRC, which happened prior to May, which happened in the beginning of May, if not in the end of, the beginning of May, right after town meeting. So that information would have been available in terms of what they were putting forward as a design, because at the end of the month, they put forward a development.
Right.
Does that make sense? I don't think I'm saying it clearly.
No, you're making perfect sense. I guess I'm still, again, in my mind, going back and forth between Jason's point that we know these people have written a letter about this, so put it down there, even if we're going to take a vote as a board not to support it, no matter what. That we can do, I guess. It's just I wish that this had been more timing-wise, looked more transparent than it seems to look. That's all. That it looks a little bit like, hey, how did Merrimack Valley Planning have all this information and we hadn't seen it yet? That's all. But to your point, Jason, I don't have a problem leaving it in, but I don't want to give the impression that we're leaving it in because we think, or the board has taken a position on this, because we have not. We have not. We have taken public input on it, and I'm sure Bethany Holmes is going to hear some of that soon. But, you know, this of all things gives me a lot of pause about our town and our streets and what it is we're trying to do here in Groveland, what really matters to us. As things grow around us, what really matters to us. And maintaining our small neighborhoods and that kind of thing, that matters to me a lot. So, Ed, what did you have to say? I guess I was just focused on this last page. If there's anything else in the report that you wanted to.
I think we're a little premature on this. We're going to meet in another week with the planning board.
Yes.
I'd like to see them weigh in on it. And then shortly after that, the Nichols Village is going to have a forum, and I think we should wait until that. And
One step at a time?
there's an awful lot of stuff in this planning commission report that I take disagreement on, but I think we should let the planning board weigh in on it.
Okay. I wasn't here at the meeting when you agreed to go to meet with the planning board. Are they open to us marching on their meeting?
I'm honestly not 100% positive. I don't believe, I didn't have an opportunity to meet with them. The last meeting that they had, that was the former town planner, but I believe that Select Board Member Naves is on the planning board, so I don't know if they talked about it. I'm sorry to throw you
We
under the
haven't met
bus.
since then, so.
Okay, so they haven't met yet.
talked
So
about
I would imagine that there wouldn't be a problem with the select board attending for that particular point in time. Their agenda hasn't been posted yet. We still have time to post their agenda, so I think that they would actually welcome the opportunity to have the select board present to meet and discuss that in more detail, so we can make those arrangements. I don't anticipate there being any pushback, but
So we would have a discussion with them.
I would imagine so that
Okay.
there can be a discourse, which it would require under open meeting law for you to post a meeting
Now,
and them to post a meeting.
Jason's an associate member, so which board are you going to be on when we go there? You're going to have to pick a force. All right. I'm serious, you can't vote on both of them.
It depends on how many people are there. If they get a full board, then I get no say either way. But I'll be there as a Board of Selectmen,
Okay, good to,
Select Board member.
yes, okay. I know, Board of Selectmen flows too easy. Okay, and so, Ed, you said there's... Excuse me? Oh, yes, it's a public meeting.
I know you asked at the meeting if there would be a public forum on this, and you were told it's not required. Well, we think it's necessary.
Well,
What's the procedure for
we had the public input as the first part of this whole meeting. I mean, that's now going to create a permanent record of minutes of your names, addresses, and your comments will be put in there, and we will have those to provide to the planning board.
the housing production plan? How can we have an opportunity to speak about that?
Okay, so that's a separate, I see, we haven't done that. I suppose, we could open up another, public comment period just for this production plan on one of our agendas and just be prepared with comments on the production plan. Yep, that. It'd be, I would do it on our next Board of Selectmen. The planning board doesn't do public comment that I'm aware of, do they?
They don't have a specific agenda item for public comment, but, I mean, it is a public meeting, so if they have housing production plan on their agenda,
Yeah.
then that would welcome the discussion, if the chair so chooses to welcome such, as it is a discretion of the chair to invite public comment. I believe, from my understanding, is that the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to be making this an agenda item as well, just because there's a lot of information going out in terms of what is the project eligibility letter, and where is our application, and why didn't we review it? Because we haven't received an application. So I think that the planning board and the zoning board are also making it agenda items, just so that people are aware that nothing's been filed yet, and to make sure that we're being as transparent as possible as what is before the board. So the zoning board of appeals has it on their agenda for Wednesday evening, and for the housing production plan, that is going to be on the planning board, because they are the ultimate approving authority on that
Right.
front.
So planning board is the housing production plan, but the zoning board is putting that Pella application.
Exactly.
The Garrison Street is on zoning board.
When does the public have an opportunity to provide input on it? That's my
On the housing production plan. Okay, what we can allow the Board of Selectmen is what we did tonight at our next regular meeting. Okay, yeah. We could do that again. You could make a list with Rebecca. That'd be great. Okay. Planning board is a whole separate process. I mean, they normally are reviewing subdivision plans, but I guess we're going to go to their meeting when they meet on this housing production plan. So they could choose to listen to comments from the public, or they could choose not to. I don't know. So what you might want to do is write them down, submit them in writing.
Yeah, contact the chair of both boards and request it.
Well, one's for the
Zoning and for the planning.
zoning is the Garrison
Yeah,
Street.
don't mix them
The
up.
Zoning is not doing the housing production plan. Planning board and Board of Select.
What you're saying is,
Yeah.
if we give you names in advance, you will allow us to speak regarding the housing production plan.
On the housing production plan, yes, that would be this document, yes, I can do that. Okay, good. And Ed, you said there were a lot of parts of this, but you want to see what the planning board wants to say about it next.
Yes.
Okay, so are we good there then?
I think so. I just have a quick question. Was it December 19th? Is that when they had that housing forum? Was that when they did this? Okay, so they had that public thing last year.
So we
I remember going to
had
that.
2 public engagement sessions. We had one that was virtual, and then we had one in person.
Okay, that's right. For some reason, I remembered right before Christmas, something happening. So the planning board meeting, we're focusing just on the housing production plan, right? We're not focusing on the Garrison Village. I just wanted to be sure.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because the zoning board would have to deal with that if it comes
Excellent.
through.
Okay, great. I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so do we have any items not reasonably anticipated?
I still have one question about this.
Oh, okay, we're still on the housing production plan? Yes.
Salem Street project, you list only having 48 affordable units.
For the,
Sewell Street? the
no,
40B?
well, yes, so we get to count all of the units, because they're rental units, towards our subsidized housing inventory, but the amount of affordable units is, I believe, 48, yes. And that's another reason why the zoning board of appeals at the time looked favorably upon the application, because while they're only producing 48 affordable units, they get to count 193, or 192.
Okay. Are we good? Are we good? All right, so we're going to move on. Town administrator time, you have 1, 2, 3, 5 items.
Yes, so that was actually at the recommendation of the town clerk. She had attended most recently a seminar in which they were stating that to just have blanket agenda items can cause some violations in terms of posting requirements. So it was suggested that we put some more routine general items so that if you were to say, what did the town administrator talk about? You could actually refer to those. They could be general in nature, but at the same time, it just kind of gives you like categories and topics so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. So that's why that's a little new to the agenda, so my sincere apologies.
That's fine.
I just have a quick few updates. As you have noticed in your packet, I had provided a comprehensive list of the town of Groveland employees. It has been historic practice for us to appoint all of our employees annually. That is not something that is required under our bylaws and/or the law. The ones that we had recommended for appointment at an earlier agenda item, those are actually required by law to be annual appointments. So unlike our boards and committees with terms and expiration dates, employees don't necessarily follow the same standard. That being said, we did try and reduce the amount of work that was associated with getting everybody appointed, getting everybody sworn in, and all that good stuff. So we removed the ones that were not required by law to be appointed annually. But again, that is not something that I wanted to withhold from the select board. I wanted to make sure that you know all of the employees that we have annually and that you see what positions that they've been appointed for and what, that they're full-time, part-time, on-call, et cetera. So you'll see in your packet is a comprehensive list of all of the employees. And that also includes those that are not appointed by the select board, such as the Board of Health and the Council on Aging. So that's before you this evening. Additionally, for town hall operation updates, I just wanted to let the select board know that I had appointed Annie Schindler as the executive coordinator. I think it'll make a lot of sense in terms of transition, and it will allow her not to attend night meetings and things of that nature, while also going back to school and pursuing her own career goals. The cable relocation for the server room is in process, so we are making headway and we are getting everything situated. We're hoping to get that wrapped up in the next 2 weeks. Additionally, there will be some changes in the small back meeting conference room, since we are moving that server as well into the closet so that it frees open that space and you won't have the heat and the humming. We are going to be trying to make that more multimedia friendly so that when the Trash and Recycling Committee meet, or if there's a smaller zoning board or planning board meeting, you're still able to televise it and to have people participate remotely, which that room currently sometimes cannot really accommodate with the background noise and with the owl and things of that nature. So that has also started to take place. For our grant updates, I have met with Mass DEP and the Pay As You Throw team. So we had our initial kickoff meeting. It was very informative. There's a lot to learn and there's a lot of information that we can share in the next year. So I'm looking forward to that. They did hire our MAC individual, so currently we did not have a MAC representative for our region. So we had been utilizing the individual that actually resides in the Cape. She's fantastic, but she's down in the Cape, so coming to personal meetings and things of that nature has been very challenging. So that's why the first meeting was just a remote meeting to get a general lay of the land, next steps, and what's going to happen. So we will be working to assemble a team. I will be relying heavily on the Trash and Recycling Committee to come up with those members. I would like to make sure that we involve the Select Board and make sure that we have representation as well on that working group. We are going to try to also include some of the town employees because it's something that will be done. Some work will be more during the day, where it's trying to accommodate work schedules and meetings during the evening. So there will be some crossover, but there will be communication, and we'll obviously be reporting back to the select board to make sure that everything is in the public and that the public is able to weigh in on the conversation as well. Additionally, I had checked in with the Office of Dam and Safety. I know that we had talked about the lovely Salem Street Dam. It has been something that we've talked about for ad nauseum for a very long time. We applied for a permitting and design grant, and we were hopeful that we would hear back from them. We have not. Since then, with the weather, we had had an opportunity with the lack of rainfall to go down and take a closer look at the pipe, and it is not looking good at all. So we put in a request for the Office of Dam and Safety to try and expedite our application. They said that they've had over 41 applications, over $280 million of project requests. So we're going to continue to see if there's anything that we can do and continue to push on the project being on the Transportation Improvement Plan, which is something that we recently did as well, and that's for full design and construction. So we're trying to go as much as we possibly can to find any type of monies available to get the infrastructure fixed in a timely manner. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because, as we said, the most recent inspection reports did not look friendly. For our procurement updates, I wanted to let the board know that we had awarded a contract for the heat pump installation for the public safety building in the dispatch room. I also wanted to let the board know that we awarded the contract for the Bagnell underground storage tank removal. That was a capital improvement project that was approved this current fiscal year. So we're just right at the end of that. So hopefully we can get that removed prior to the school year, and we can take that off of our long-term maintenance and just a pain in terms of just monitoring regularly. So it would be nice to see that removed. And then from a community preservation project update, we're still just trucking along. We're still in the beginning phases. I have dropped the ball a little bit. I'm trying to meet with some of the more recent awardees, but I'm hoping that in the next week that things will slow down a little bit and that we'll be able to get those projects up and running and make sure that we're set for project completion. So those are just the updates that I have right now.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Yeah, for the Salem
ahead.
Street Dam, personally invested. Are you worried that there's a concern that you'll have to stop trucks from going down? It's just it's so active there.
So we're still not ruling that out as a potential solution in terms of limiting the amount of weight that's currently on the structure itself. We have some potential short-term fixes that we could start implementing. The issue is that the more Band-Aids that we throw at it, the more monies that we're spending on trying to just keep it together without spending that money on an outright fix of the dam. The thing that gets really frustrating is the amount of permitting that's going to go into fixing the dam, because we have National Heritage, we have Conservation, Wetlands Protection Act, and then we also have, the Office of Dam and Safety has their own regulations in terms of the span and the width and all that stuff. So we really do want to see if there's any assistance that they can give us in terms of those permitting and design aspects before we start throwing more money at it.
Right.
But that being said, safety is of the utmost paramount of what our focus is. So if we're not successful in hearing back from the state, then we will begin to use our Chapter 90 monies that we have set aside in order to try and remediate as much as we possibly can before it becomes an even bigger problem.
Okay. I know, because I see the cracks in the street getting worse when I walk by, so.
The voids in the structure itself, it's really alarming to see how it started to deteriorate just through, not necessarily the masonry walls, but through the throughway and spillway underneath.
Any chance it could be a historic dam because of the swimming facility that we used to have? Look at Mike, he's giving a poker face.
We could put a plaque there. Be like, see, it's historical.
Plaque?
Yeah.
We could do that. I know, it's a tough one. I mean, in addition to that, if you walk down, where the stream goes under Lower Main Street, again, the barrier is falling in, and just a lot of disrepair. And I mean, we haven't painted lines on our roads in some cases, we haven't painted crosswalks. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm imagining if we're redirecting Chapter 90 funds to that one thing, then all these other safety concerns can't be done.
That's very much the case, given the fact that we only get about $250,000 for Chapter 90. The Fair Share Apportionment Act that we got the additional funding for, which is through the Millionaire's Tax, that's about another $140,000 right there. I mean, that helps, but at the same time, we're talking about, reconstructing an entire, dam, and then that's, coming in at $1.2 million. That wipes us out entirely and won't cover it. Even if we did a short-term fix, most short-term fix are $500,000. That's $500,000. We still don't have enough of the monies that we have set aside to do that. And the roadway maintenance budget is we're talking $50,000, $100,000 max. So it's not like we have all this extra funding to throw at it, which is why we've been tirelessly working on trying to find any other financial solution to fixing this particular problem so that we can do other very, very necessary work that we have here in town.
Okay. Sure.
Are there any? Hi, Michael Gobin. Are there any loan programs that the state has? Maybe if there aren't grants available right away, that we could try and get a low interest or ideally no interest loan so that we could use money over a longer period of time to try and fix this problem? I'm not entirely familiar with this dam, but just a thought.
There are definitely loan programs available, and we have definitely taken a look at them. It's just, again, the money has to come from somewhere. So trying to identify how that's going to be done while not having the ability to go back to the taxpayers or go back to the budget, since the budget's already been set, and reevaluate that. So it is something that we're taking a look at for the next fiscal year, just due to the fact and the condition of the dam, obviously. But our first hope is to try those other mechanisms. But definitely, ideally, that is another situation that we could find ourselves in, and an idea that we could pursue.
Okay. So hopefully good news will follow on the dam, not the swimming hole. Okay. And is that your whole list? Let me just say, maybe. Procurement. Community preservation, did you do that yet? Oh, you did. Okay, so we're done with all of that? Good job. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot. Thank you very much for everything you're doing, and thank Annie, too, for stepping up to that big new job. And I think people are going to be very impressed with the amount of projects and things that we're able to accomplish with a little bit more focused staffing is what's happened here. I think, Mike Dempsey, you got drafted, huh? Sorry, we needed you. Thank you. We appreciate that for helping us out on that way. Select Board time reports. I don't have much to report. We did, sadly, for those of us that have lived in town a longer while and knew Sandy Carlton, who was the wife of the fire chief before the chief, it's like 30 years ago, chief. Wonderful person. She did sadly pass, and her funeral is tomorrow. And she was one of the people I first met in Groveland, and made me feel so welcome. Always had a smile on her face. And yeah, she won the motorcycle when they raffled it off to build the extra addition to the town hall for the veto. Not that she ever rode a motorcycle. I believe she sold it to somebody. But wonderful person, contributed a lot to the town, as did her husband as fire chief. And she'll be missed. She'll be missed. Ed?
Yeah, I agree. 24 years. She spent hours that she wasn't compensated for. Sometimes she was here late at night to get the work done. Very dedicated. You're not going to get anybody like her. And as the chairman, David Greenbaum, notes that town decided on raising her salary as requested by the Board of Health. Felt underappreciated. It's a shame. We gave other employees raises, and we should have gone along with the Board of Health's recommendations here. Would have been the right thing to do. But Laurie put in a lot of time, and she'll be missed.
Jason?
Yeah, I think I really want to put a big thank you to the highway department for maintaining the fields and keeping our town looking great. It's been a struggle since the grass started growing so quickly, so early, before all the temporary help got out of high school. And they've certainly been working, especially in this heat.
Becky?
Yeah, I had a couple things. So one of them, the hazard mitigation plan from May 28th, I was looking at the meeting notes, and we had public comments were collected until June 28th. So I'm wondering if there were any comments collected, and what are the next steps for the select board, unless I totally missed the mark on that. It was presented the same day as the housing production plan.
I can double check with the MVPC if they had received any comment, because I think
Okay.
that was all done remotely.
Okay.
Or sorry, virtually.
Yep.
And double check, and I believe that we did approve the plan,
Okay.
but will have to double check on that as well.
Okay. It was just, the comments threw me off. I'm like, wait, were we waiting for comments first? So.
Agreed. I will double check and report back to the board.
Awesome. And then the second thing is, I just want to encourage residents to read our town administrator's monthly newsletter. I'm not just saying because my picture was in it on the last one. But you get a lot of really, like, you get a snapshot of what's going on in town, and I think it's really helpful. I didn't see a way to subscribe to it. Is that, or is,
I think there is an option.
there is, okay.
I've
You got to
not,
tell the IT girl where to subscribe to it, because I was looking for it just so I can have it
it
delivered.
could be. I'll make sure it's
Okay.
a little bit more front and center. I'm not sure if it's subscribing to the news in general, or if it's the actual letter. I think it's the actual, like, the news.
Okay.
So, but I can see if there's something we can do on the newsletter itself.
Okay. I appreciate the work you put into it. I think it's, I mean, I listen and I watch all the meetings. I don't know if anyone else has, the extra 10 hours a week to do that, but I can multitask and listen to it, but it's nice you having the snapshot of everything that's going on. So highly encourage people to read that. It's on the website, and then you also post it on the Facebook page as well, too. Yeah, it's the Town Administrator's Corner. Yeah, it's just, there's some helpful things in there for sure. That's it.
Okay, good. So we have correspondence. We have the Whittier Regional School District final 2024-2025 budget and appropriation, and a letter from Lori Benson to retire as Board of Health Administrative Assistant as of August 1st, 2024. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, July 22nd, but I just wanted to double check. This planning board meeting is the 16th, or we're not sure yet?
I'm of the understanding that they would meet on the 16th, but I will need to double check and will
Okay.
inform the board and then post an
Tuesday.
agenda accordingly. And it would only be, for the agenda item, would be for the housing production
The
plan.
housing, exactly. Okay, great. Okay. There being no further business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Making a motion to adjourn at 8:37.
I'll second that.
And motion made by Jason, seconded by Becky, and I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Yep.
It's unanimous with one absent. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night.